Good.
I love your background. That's very cool.
I know.
Oh, thank you. It's Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers. That's
It's
cool.
a show I find quite funny. I like to switch it up sometimes from the landscape background.
Oh, yes.
Gotcha.
Aw. Which I know Zach has started our live streaming. He is recording our committee meeting, and then it'll be streaming on YouTube.
Oh gosh, just what I just said is going to go streaming.
No, he just started.
Good. I just went off Siri, but I'm not going there.
I was gonna say I didn't think I'd heard anything spicy.
No, it wasn't spicy. It was, well.
And I know Cord is going to join us, or at least on Monday, he said he would be joining us. So we'll give him in a minute, but we shall see. I know coming after holidays and New Year and trying to get back into the swing, it's been a busy week.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody had nice holidays, and
it was very quiet.
Yeah.
We weren't able to gather with family this year, so just we two. Still trying to figure out what to do with all that leftover ham.
Ours is in the freezer.
Yeah, I put mine in the freezer too.
Yeah.
It's better there than in my stomach.
Yeah.
Or on my waistline.
Let's see. I'm going to check my email real quick. Well, I don't want to wait too long because I know everyone has things that they're doing and could be doing right now. So I'm sure Zach will let anybody in that joins us. So thank y'all so much for taking time out on your Wednesday afternoon to sit in on our committee meeting, and for kind of just a background for Surrey. What we've been doing is in the past several months, we've had a committee meeting in between the full board meetings. And this was a conversation, and you might have been part of that conversation with Dr. Benzing about just having committees keep the line of communication going in between the board meetings. So this is kind of our in-between meeting. And so I just wanted to give some updates on what the education department's been doing. And that way, if y'all have any questions or, discussion, anything like that, it would give us time today to do that. And then we will have our full group meeting in February. But what I'm going to do, I added a couple of images so that it's not just me talking about what we've been doing. Y'all can actually see some of the stuff. So I'm going to share my screen real quick now. All right. Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. So just some quick updates, and this is basically the agenda that I sent out on Monday. And I guess first off, does everybody know everybody?
Is everybody just
I've met Siri?
Awesome.
Yeah,
well, I tell you what.
same.
Well, why don't we just take a second to kind of just introduce ourselves and just a little bit about ourselves.
Who's here? I'm going to bring back Miss Tolliver.
And what I'll do, sorry, I'm trying to mess with my computer at the same
You're
time.
fine.
Multitasking at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon.
No, look crazy.
Hey, glad you could join us today.
I'm still seeing patients, so I will be
Oh.
popping in and out.
No problem. No problem. We were just going to kind of quickly introduce ourselves. And I had mentioned that this meeting today is kind of our in between our full group meetings, just to kind of keep that line of communication open. But just a quick about me. So I'm Christy. I'm the education manager here at the museum. And I have been with the museum going on 18 years in various roles in the education department. So I've had a lot of fun seeing the progression of the museum and working in the education department. So, and I will turn it over. Let's see, just as far as on my screen, Dr. Bakke is my first square that popped up. So would you like to kind of tell everybody?
Okay, sure. I think I can demask for a minute. Hi, I'm Dr. Mukunda Abdul-Bakke, and OBGYN, Martinsville, Henry County. And I've been on the committee, I guess now for, what is it, 5 years? I think it's 5 years. And, you know, just interested in seeing the growth of the museum, especially in these challenging times. But I think there's a possibility that there's even more opportunities with everything being online, as far as how many kids we should be able to reach. Okay.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Suri?
Sure. I'll tell you, I'm not terribly good at this sort of thing because I typically think I don't really have anything all that interesting to say. But my name is Siri Russell. I guess I've been on this committee for a couple of months. I think this may be my first meeting or my second meeting. I'm not positive. But I was particularly interested in the education committee, and especially in programming and outreach as it relates to children and other folks just generally in sort of the state more broadly. I am in Albemarle County in Central Virginia, and so I don't know how much interface, right, that folks here have typically had, but I'm really interested in finding ways to grow that presence. So that's all I have to say on that.
Awesome. Thank you. Faye?
Yeah, I'm Faye Cooper, and I reside in Stanton, and I've been on the board now for, I think, about 4 years, and have served on the education committee that whole time. I'm also the chair of the advisory committee for what will be the newly established campus in Waynesboro. In fact, Siri, I think you've come onto that committee, haven't you? Yeah, great. Yeah, we really look forward to your participation. And that's a project that I'm particularly excited about with regard to educational outreach. And hopefully we'll get off the dime here soon once the budget gets back on track and we can finish our planning and design work. And that's to me is just one of the most exciting things that the museum has undertaken while I've been on the board. And I agree too that with the earlier comment by the good doctor there, that even though COVID times have presented some huge challenges for the museum and really everyone, I do think it's also can expand our outreach virtually, where we can actually, have a whole network of educational outreach around the state. And I think that this whole virtual option is a way that we can grow our programs. And I know that Christy and her team are already working on those opportunities. So anyway, enough said.
Wonderful. Thank y'all so much for taking just a minute to do that. And Siri, I wanted to mention, since you are fairly new on the committee, typically with our education department, right now we would be heavy in outreach programming, as well as on-site programming. And so not only do we have educators here at the Martinsville site, we actually have outreach educators in Charlottesville, as well as the Eastern Shore area. And of course, they do not have a brick and mortar building that they are conducting from, but they have their education material that they then take to the school systems. So of course, right now, all of that is on hold, but our outreach educators in those areas are open for virtual programming. And so I'll talk more about that in a minute. But so just to kind of give an idea, and we would typically be conducting, the in-person programs with the schools and homeschool and sleepovers and a whole range of things. So it has impacted us, but like you've all mentioned, it has really given us the opportunity to look at how we can move forward. We had distance learning programs that we offered for years. So what we did was we looked at how we can tweak those that we already had in place and really expand upon it and make it conducive for the situations right now. And so it has been, it's been very interesting. It's definitely been a learning curve of working through all of this, but it has been very interesting. And so I did want to kind of go over some things. On the agenda, I had some of these updates, and I mentioned, that this is just our meeting in between standing board meetings. I wanted to go ahead and put on here, our next board meeting date is going to be February 20th. Committee meeting details and all of that will be sent out, closer to that date. But I did want to go ahead and put that on here. Just so everybody would have that on their calendars. So I'm briefly this afternoon, because I don't want to take up a lot of everybody's time, I wanted to kind of talk about our virtual programming and some of the other things that we've been working on, such as our teacher professional development project, some things that we're doing while we are open to the public, and then some other things, a microscope loan program I'll get to in a minute. And then as part of our Education and Public Programs Committee, we also are covering exhibits. So within our committee, we have our exhibits subcommittee. And so I'm going to highlight a couple of things that's going on with our exhibits department, and then of course give us some time to kind of chat about things. But I usually kind of just describe to everybody what we've been doing. And I'm like, what, with our virtual programs, I really wanted to kind of add some details so that y'all can kind of get a snapshot of what we've been doing. So with our virtual programming, we put out a push not only at the beginning of the school year, but I also sent a reminder to everyone from superintendents and principals within schools, public and private, as well as other organizations like after school programs, Boys and Girls Club, things like that. So I sent out these reminders of, hey, we're here, we have these virtual programs that you can take advantage of, let us work with you. So we've seen some traffic with that, and I plan on doing another push at the end of the month. I figure coming back from winter break and just trying to get everything rolling again. I didn't want to send out anything right now, but I will be sending out another push towards the end of the month, just describing what we can do and some details. So our virtual programming, we target public and private schools. And so these are just some images from some of our more recent programming with the schools. And we literally have the monitor that we roll through the exhibit areas. So the teachers have a list of programs that they can select from. And depending on what they pick and what grade level, we will target those standards of learning if they are a school that's following, the standards of learning, and go through the various exhibits that would touch on the topic that the teacher has requested. So we're literally mobile. In most of our programs, we will go through a couple of the exhibit areas, not all of them, just because that would take way too long. But we will highlight exhibit components, the things on display, things that we have in our collection or things that we have borrowed from our curators. They're great to work with as far as specimens and things like that. And then we also, because our typical outreach programs were heavy hands-on and just having the kids do all sorts of things, what we've done with our virtual programming is look at how we can still incorporate things for the students, the children to be doing while we're connected to them. So it might not be that we're sharing, oh, hey, pass around this dinosaur bone, but it's things that they can do wherever they're connected, home, and things that they can do while we're connected to correlate to whatever topic that we're talking about. We've incorporated active things. They're getting up, moving around, counting how many steps and things like that. So trying to be as creative as we can with our virtual programs. And this is just another highlight of our public and private, utilizing the exhibits. And like I mentioned, just trying to go through different areas. This one, of course, they wanted to target some social studies standards. So we were in our Graham White exhibit area, which discusses the American Indians that lived in the Salem area. And we have these wonderful pre-European contact material as well as post-European contact material that we discussed with the kids. We've had quite a few after-school programs that have participated with our virtual programs. So we're working with a variety of age ranges too, whether it's elementary, middle, and even high school. Most recently with the after school. So we've been very flexible with what time that we connect with the students. Some of our programs are 4:30 in the afternoon. So we're really working with whatever the group is as to when we connect and work with them. Something that we have had a increasing population over the years, we have a homeschool program that's called the Homeschool Science and Engineering Academy. And we have been running this for about 10 years now. And of course, it has typically been in person. We have 3 classrooms in our basement level. And so we would have 3 age groups with programming simultaneously. And what we did was completely shifted that into the virtual. And so we have 3 different Zoom sessions that we connect with the 3 different age groups. And actually today was our homeschool session. So we were in our Wild About Cats exhibit area. But we've completely shifted to virtual, but we're still just doing all sorts of neat science experiments, engineering things. So what you're looking at right here is Terry showing them how to swab a Petri dish. What we did was we ordered some agar plate Petri dishes, and we either had the parents, if they were local, they could pick up their dish to work with, or we shipped them out to them because, like you mentioned, with the virtual programming, we have seen an increase in the radius of our participants. So we actually have people connecting on with us from Richmond. We have from Pennsylvania. We have from North Carolina. So we're able to connect, and, you know, even doing this one, we just shipped the stuff out. And then what we did was we did 2 different sessions for this homeschool program. And the first one was talking about germs and things like that. We showed them how to swab things around their house. And then we even showed them how to set up a home incubator for their Petri dish so that they could keep an eye on it and keep it nice and warm and grow some cool stuff. And so then our second program of that month, we conduct the homeschool programs on the first and third Wednesday of every month. So the first Wednesday of the month, we kind of did the beginning part of it. And so then the follow-up was the results. And so the kids were amazed at what they grew. And so this is just one image of some results, and the kids were just so grossed out, so amazed. But it was really nice to see the reaction of the kids, and just they were so enthusiastic to talk about not only what they swabbed around the house, but what they could observe. And so with the follow-up, we did a discussion on you know, what possibly could be growing in their Petri dishes, and of course, proper disposal, but just fun things like that. So our homeschool, we also have engineering that we incorporate. So one of our sessions in December was engineering design process. So each grade level that we work with, or age level that we work with, had a different design challenge. So one was just a simple car, which is what Terry is holding right there, of material that they could find around their house. So this was something that we told them it's not required material, it's whatever you can find. And so for an hour, we work with them and we talk about engineering design process and the steps to go through, and then they were building. Now with our older kids, I included a video because I wanted to share this with you. The older students' challenge was to design and build a Ferris wheel that could move. And so that was a pretty steep challenge for our kids, but the student all of our students sent in videos and photos, but I wanted to share a quick snippet just so you could see her progress. And I didn't, it's a long video, but you get the idea. So working with this project, we had one student, an older student, that incorporated a power drill with her Ferris wheel, so that was the mechanism to make her Ferris wheel move. So a lot of fun. Today, like I mentioned, our focus was the cats exhibit, the Wild About Cats, and talking about endangered and threatened species. And then our next one on on January 20th is going to be on paleontology. So we'll be incorporating some of the aspects of our paleontologist here and things that they're working on. Go. Something that we had started while we were open to the public on Fridays as well as Saturdays were activity tables. And so every Friday, we would have an activity table set out for the duration of the day, and we would have various topics. And so it might be meeting the live animals and being able to interact with the live animals. It might be something of interest. This was our table on bats, and relating it to some of our specimens that we have in the Hall of Ancient Life. So every Friday, we would have different things out for the public just to stop in, kind of get a quick overview, and then continue exploring the museum. We have shifted gears a little bit because the museum has gone from being open on the Friday and Saturday to, after the new year, we are now only open on Saturdays. So what we're doing is shifting to more of the Saturday audience and still continuing our activity tables, so that the public, as they come in, can interact with things. And we have tried to correlate our activity tables with something that we have on our Facebook page, that is a video series that we have worked on called Museum Minutes. And so the Museum Minute is just literally 1 minute highlighting something in the museum, some aspect of an exhibit, a specimen that's on display, something that might get passed over when people are visiting and looking at the exhibit. So we kind of tied in our activity tables with those museum minutes, so that when they're advertised on social media, we could just have that correlation. Our exhibit department has been very busy during this time. We have a new exhibit, the Lepidoptera, which are the images that are on now, that have been added. This is a very beautiful display of butterflies and moths. It's actually featuring over 700 different species of butterflies and moths. And this is in the hallway going to our lecture hall. So it's really neat incorporating exhibits in these spaces that you might not typically encounter an exhibit. So Lepidoptera is being installed right now. And then I also wanted to show the trout tank. I had mentioned the trout tank progress in a meeting a few months ago. So this is the trout tank that is in our Wild Watersheds exhibit, and it's a 400-gallon tank that has brook trout right now. And so it was really neat to watch the trout hatch from the eggs. We received them as the eggs, and so it was very neat being able to see that change in the growth. And so we now have the little trout growing. But nice trout tank. So this exhibit area, the Wild Watersheds, is also being upgraded right now. There's going to be some drawers added with different components for visitors to interact with once we're able to open our interactive stuff back up, and just visual components as well. So those were just some quick images that I wanted to share, just instead of telling you about what we've been doing, just kind of show you some things. The programming has been going well virtually. Like I said, it has been a learning process, you know, and figuring out things that we could have the students do while they're at home, you know, to get them moving and doing active things with them, and still covering our content. So in December, we did, unfortunately, the second homeschool session, we had to cancel that one due to that weather. It was that day that we had the weird freezing rain weather stuff. So unfortunately, we canceled that one. Just you know, did not want Terry and myself driving in that to come to the museum, but so we're moving right along with our programs. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be putting out a push at the end of the month to superintendents, instructional coaches, leaders of, you know, after school programming and things like that, in not only our you know, our counties, but the surrounding counties too, because like you all mentioned, you know, the virtual programming lends itself to being able to cover such a wide audience. So what I had done was look at contact lists that we previously had and added to it, kind of taking our normal footprint of our range and kind of expanded out, so that we can hopefully cover more. So that's kind of the main things that I wanted to mention. Also, while I'm thinking about it, we are starting to talk about summer camps. Summer camps has been a staple at the museum for years. And so right now we are just discussing the possibility of summer camps. We would love to be able to offer camps, and what we're looking at is, you know, depending on the state of things, of course, once we get to that time, we'll definitely have to, you know, constantly evaluate. But what we're hoping is that we will be able to offer some and have a lot of outdoor camps, you know, so that we aren't in our classrooms the entire time. So right now we're just kind of in that discussion phase, but we are hopeful that we will be able to do some summer camps. But so I'll keep everybody up to date on that. Yes, Faye.
Christy, what's the status of the outdoor pavilion, that outdoor space? And I'm assuming that would be a certainly a good place to consider holding outdoor activities. But
Yes.
I don't know where they are with that.
Honestly, from my understanding, everything is kind of on hold with that right now, but you know, hopefully we will find out soon just kind of the status of that, because you're correct, that would be a wonderful place to be able to have camps, because right now what we have done in the past is we utilize the city park that is right behind the museum. which is just right across the road. But they have a very nice covered area, lots of trails and open places. So we've been using that, but it would be very nice to have the space around the museum. Yes, sorry.
I have a question too, and
Yes.
it's probably just a, you educating me question. Is our outreach primarily targeted towards children, or do we work with, aging senior communities, or, just adults of regular age as well?
That's a great question. Typically, we have served just from birth all the way up, because we have conducted programs with senior citizen groups. Actually, at the beginning of all of this, we worked with a assisted living facility on doing virtual programming. And we have worked with various groups in the past to go and have hands-on presentations. So yes, so that's a great question. Our outreach and on-site visitation was typically heavy elementary age, and whether that was school and public. But we do have those audiences, middle, high school, adult, that we serve. The museum, not only the educators, but also the curators work with the various age levels too. And different groups that come in. We've worked a lot with Master Naturalist chapters in the past. So the lifelong learning audience. So great question.
I have another question, if that's
Sure.
okay.
Yes, definitely.
I was asking because I'm just thinking about, especially in this virtual environment, I'm seeing a lot of community centers doing virtual programming and a lot of, other types of groups. And I know you said you were adding to your contact list, and I was wondering if those were the sorts of groups that you were also adding to that list.
Definitely. And I've been talking with some of our more local community centers and
can I add a couple to your list too?
Definitely, yes, because that's what I was
going to do right now.
Yes. And that goes for anyone, if you know of an audience that would be great to add to our list, please do, because we're targeting community groups, schools, you name it, because there's so many groups right now that are trying to provide opportunities. And so I think if we can tap in to those groups and say, hey, we're here and we can provide content for you, it's beneficial.
I have another question. Sorry, I'm full of questions.
No, that's great. That's great.
Do we, are all of our, programs and services offered in English only, or are there ever any, opportunities to have interpreters, or, to offer something in Spanish or Bengali or whatever?
Great question. Right now, English only. Unfortunately, one of our educators who took another job at towards the end of the year, she was Spanish speaking, so we lost that skill set. But what we have talked about, and I think this actually came up with our last board meeting, was looking at our exhibit text and having some interpretive panels in Spanish, working on that. So I know that is something that is on the forefront with the museum, and something that we definitely want to pursue.
Is there a budget line for language accessibility, or is that something that is you're saying is in the very beginning, sort of thinking?
I'm
Maybe I'll
not
ask
sure,
the question in February.
but I can definitely look into that. I honestly do not know if that is a line item, but I'm making myself a note. I can check on that. Because like I mentioned, I know that it has come up in discussion, but I will definitely look into that.
Sweet. Okay, I'll shut up now.
No, I love questions. I love questions. Sorry. Writing and talking. Awesome.
I'm sorry. I'm going to ask another question. I said I was going to shut up, but I'm actually going to ask another question. And that's just because I'm new and I haven't seen a lot of what y'all do yet, or what we do yet. And so I'm trying to get a, understanding. And so I know that our focus is on natural history, which is very interesting stuff. I will just be totally transparent and say, I don't really know all that much about natural history. I'm learning. Okay. But what I work in is actually equity and inclusion.
Yes.
And so I am interested in whether or not there are intersections that potentially exist, to bring cultural awareness and that sort of thing into a conversation about natural history.
Yes.
You don't have to answer that question right this second. Maybe we can marinate on it, but I'm just putting it out there that that's something I'm interested in seeing if we can bring to some of these programs.
Definitely.
I think that is a great question.
Yes.
And I think it's one that's come up in conversations about the satellite exhibits in Waynesboro, and how we can bring in cultural, related, we had the Native Americans, the Black Americans and the influence in the Central Virginia area, and how that ties into the use of the land, therefore natural history. I mean, I think there's huge opportunities for that. And you probably met Carol Nash through one of our meetings, and she's all over that. I think that's something you and she could talk about.
That'd be great.
My battery's running low, unfortunately, but I think that's a really great objective to have.
It is.
I'm gonna have to plug in. I'll be right back.
That is, and what I will do, I'm definitely going to mention these things so that hopefully with our February meeting, especially with our committee, we can follow up and have more conversations. But yes, great.
And I'm
great
going to
points.
shoot you an email, because I'm thinking of a couple of places here locally that I think would really be excited about partnering to do some virtual programming.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
And one of which I'm just going to say, yes, we're going to be excited to do it. I'm going to say Albemarle County. Yeah, we're interested in partnering to do some virtual programming at one of our community centers in the rural area, especially. So
yes,
I think that's that'd be great.
And that was something that I've had conversations with teachers about, just accessibility as far as their internet connections. I've had several that have inquired about what we can do, what we're doing, and they're like, gosh, I would really love to do this, but our internet, we have these kids that are do not have internet or poor quality internet. And so I've been keeping in touch with them as far as the progress of their internet service. One in particular was talking about the schools were providing, I don't know if a hotspot is, yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I've been following up with them just to kind of keep that conversation going about what we could do for them. So But great.
Yeah, be excited to do some stuff. I think that'd be really cool.
Yes, yes. Yes, I think now, and just this week, it's been a very busy week. I've had a lot of inquiries just this week alone. So I think teachers are, and just, other groups are kind of like, okay, I have this virtual learning thing a little more figured out now. Now let's branch out and see what we can do. So I'm really hopeful that we will be able to increase our programming upcoming. So, but great. But yes, any groups that you are familiar with or any contacts, please send them my way. I would love to help out.
I'm gonna do it.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, can anybody think of anything else? We've kind of covered a lot.
I have a weird question for you. Could you use some owl pellets?
Yes.
Okay. We are blessed here in Augusta County. Well, it's actually in Stanton, but anyway, there's a area where short-eared owls hang out in the wintertime. And that's on a farm that's owned by a friend of mine, and we find owl pellets a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think we've sent some to you. I think we sent some to Joe.
I was gonna say, is that where Joe got them from?
Yeah. So if you'd like more, we're collecting.
Oh, that would be great.
I'd love for you to have them, because that's a great thing for you to use virtually or to send to teachers. So yeah, well, we'll keep collecting it and keep sending them.
Exactly. Who does not like to dig through owl
pellets? They're great.
Yes, thank you.
Siri, you should try it. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound quite exciting.
It's like, oh my goodness. Well, great. Well, anything else before I let everybody go? Any questions or comments?
Just to thank you for, the good work and keeping things rolling during these crazy times. And they are crazy.
Thank you. Yes, it has been interesting.
Yeah.
But like everyone has said, it's also an opportunity to see, what we can do virtually and provide support.
Yep.
But great. Well, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And I will type up everything that we talked about and follow up on some of these things. And then we will be in touch before our next board meeting in February.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Have a good one.
All right.